Hey guys, it's Blake from Just Nerds, and today I'm taking an opportunity to talk about Pokémon. Now, in the beginning of every Pokémon game, to anybody who's played the game, we always get to experience that memorable moment where we are asked to choose one of 3 Pokémon to guide us and be our partner in our Pokémon journey. Every time I get to this super special moment where I'm asked to choose one of these 3, I am filled with excitement. So in this video, I'm going to be counting down my personal top 5 favorite Pokemon starters. Now, as you guys may know if you've seen our Pokemon Generations discussion video, Pokemon is one of my personal favorite video game franchises of all time. With that said, this list was super difficult and super fun to make at the same time. Also, I'll only be choosing Pokemon from games that I've played, so don't be surprised if you see multiple choices from the same generation. So without any more delay, let's start this countdown. Number 5. When I first powered on my DS Lite with Pokemon Pearl inside, I had no idea what to expect. And I'll be honest, I wasn't sure I would really like this game. I was kind of expecting to be disappointed. Sure enough, the time came when I needed to choose my partner for the journey ahead. At first glance, Turtwig seemed to be the most durable, and Piplup was the cutest in my opinion. But when I saw that little fire monkey Chimchar, I picked him without a second thought. After many battles and a decent-sized piece of the game completed, I was actually impressed, and Chimchar made the Generation 4 experience just so much more enjoyable. He has stayed my strongest Pokemon through the game, especially when he evolved into the powerful Infernape. We started beating trainers and gyms left and right, and that puts Chimchar at the start of this countdown. Number 4. I have some pretty fond memories of playing through Generation 3, and a lot of those memories are thanks to one little Pokemon in particular, Mudkip. I mean, what's not to like about this little guy? His ground type keeps him from taking damage from electric types, and his dual typing gives him a great moveset. His evolutionary family is as great as I expected it, and I especially have a soft spot in my heart for Swampert. He's big, bulky, and a massive powerhouse. He just looks so durable, and he actually has the stats to prove it. In Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Red and Blue Rescue Team, Mudkip was always the Pokemon I got second most often, which made me pretty happy since he's a great Pokemon. Nonetheless, Mudkip made a fantastic companion in my Pokemon Sapphire playthrough, which gives the little guy a nice spot at number 4. Number 3. As I said, I have some fond memories in Generation 3. Some of those were made with Mudkip, while the rest of them were all made with the cute little chick of fire, Torchic. Torchic was appealing to me for some reason, and I thought that it would make a great starter for Generation 3. And as I suspected, I was right. Torchic and me had a rough time at the rock gym, and even though our team had a lot of grass and water type Pokemon, it took us some time to get past that gym. But after that battle was over, we finally got rolling and we never stopped. Eventually though, that cute little chick of fire grew up and evolved into the Hawk of Blazing Death known as Blaziken. Blaziken was undeniably my most powerful Pokemon in the game. With his level at 78 and his power going unquestioned, we should have gone on to defeat the Pokemon League, right? Well, unfortunately, for some odd reason, me and Blaziken never made it to the league and never got a chance to face the Elite Four. I actually can't remember why this even happened. But now I have since journeyed back to my Sapphire game, grabbed a new Torchic, and have started a brand new journey that I intend to see to the end, which puts that little chick of fire at number 3. Number 2. In Generation 1, Bulbasaur was the Pokemon that was left alone on Professor Oak's desk because many people chose Charmander. But after having a few playthroughs with this little green plant monster, I have come to love this little guy as a starter. Perhaps at first glance it's difficult to see the potential Bulbasaur has, or maybe to feel the connection. Like, you know, how if somebody likes lizards or salamanders, Charmander is an easy choice, or if someone loves turtles, they choose Squirtle. But with Bulbasaur, it's kind of difficult to see what exactly he's supposed to be, and maybe that turns some people away. But I personally loved him because he was the underdog of the big 3. Bulbasaur is great. He learns great moves that can be used for dealing solid damage or inducing status problems, and his evolutionary family is awesome. Evolving into Ivysaur next, which is my personal favorite stage of the family, and then into the powerful Venusaur. Hilariously enough, in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue and Red Rescue Team, whenever I take the personality test in the beginning of the game, I always end up as the docile Bulbasaur. In fact, in every single other Pokemon personality test I have taken online or in-game, I always end up as Bulbasaur. Do I complain? Not once. I love this little guy, and he was super close to being my number 1. Yet Bulbasaur stands outshined by one Pokemon. Now, before I say my number 1 favorite starter Pokemon, I thought I should take a quick opportunity to tell you 3 Pokemon that were very close to making it on this list. The first is Cyndaquil, who is probably my favorite starter in the second generation games, and I have some pretty great memories with this guy in that game. The second is Piplup, and if it wasn't for Chimchar being so awesome in my opinion, she probably would have taken his spot. Piplup is an adorable little Pokemon, and quite possibly one of the cutest of all of them in my opinion. And although I have had some great moments with this little penguin, Chimchar wins in the end for this list. But if this list was a top 10 list, Piplup would probably be at a number 6 spot. And the last honorable mention is for Pikachu, who is your very first Pokemon in Pokemon Yellow Pikachu Edition from Generation 1, one of my favorite games of all time. Originally, Pikachu was going to hold a spot on this list, but since you can technically get Pikachu in any other Pokemon game and it hasn't been recognized as a Pokemon starter for quite some time, I decided to just put it on the honorable mentions. So why do I like Pikachu as a starter though? Because Pikachu is amazing in any game, especially in Yellow, where he usually ends up being one of my most powerful Pokemon. And I also like how he follows you around in Yellow, and can interact with you and in some of the events that happen in Generation 1. It makes the game seem a bit more interesting and fun in my opinion. Now, I could go on and rant about other reasons why I love Pikachu as a Pokemon and as a starter, but I'll just move on since he's only on the honorable mentions. So let's cut to the chase. Number 1. Well, now we have reached my number 1 favorite Pokemon starter. So which of the many starters earns this title as my all-time favorite? None other than the tiny blue turtle himself, Squirtle. Now, Squirtle is my favorite for a lot of reasons. Some sentimental, others more based on strategy. So I'll start with the more strategical reasons first. Now, as we all know, Squirtle is a water-type Pokemon who evolves into the awesome-looking Wartortle, and then the Hydro Cannon-packing tortoise, Blastoise. Squirtle makes quick work of the fire and rock types in the game, but I always try to teach him Ice Beam and Blizzard via a TM at some point in my playthrough, so that he has an advantage over the Dragon types and can do some heavy damage against your rival's Venusaur. He can also learn Surf, Dig, and Strength at any point in time, which can really be beneficial, although I would strongly advise against putting all 3 of these moves into his moveset. But nonetheless, Squirtle has a large variety of useful moves he's capable of learning, which in my opinion can make a huge difference during the game. Now, on to the more sentimental reasons. Firstly, Squirtle was my first Pokemon. In fact, Blastoise was on the cover of my first Pokemon game. One fond memory I have is found in Pokemon Leaf Green. When I first reached the Elite Four, I went in there expecting to fail. My Pokemon were tough, but I didn't think they were strong enough to tangle with these guys. Least of all, my rival. But surprisingly, I managed to beat the Elite Four. How did I accomplish this with Pokemon who probably weren't prepared for such a battle? Blastoise, that's how. In the final fight, with no revives left and all my Pokemon out except one, while my rival still had about 4 Pokemon, Blastoise beat all of them, including my rival's Venusaur. This is one of those Pokemon battles that I remember being just so exhilarating and suspenseful. And thanks to Blastoise though, we were victorious. Looking back, I see all the effort I put into raising that cute blue turtle paid off greatly, and it was worth every second. And that's why I love Squirtle as my number 1 favorite Pokemon starter. Well guys, that concludes my top 5 list. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to my opinions. But don't forget, we want to know your favorite starters as well, so go down to that comment box and tell us which Pokemon starters you love, and maybe give a brief explanation why. We look forward to seeing your responses. Thanks again for tuning in, and we hope you like this video and subscribe so you can catch all of our upcoming videos. Take care, fellow trainers.